Listen, I love Monjunis.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a huge fan. I love the sauce.
Hey,
there's so many things that I like, but it's like lunch right now, and it's 100 degrees outside.
Yep.
You can't do it. It's too hot.
I mean, this will just go to be a shout out for this episode. The Monjunis in Benton, bringing back that location only. The all-you-can-eat spaghetti.
What?
Now, I think it might be on a certain day, $3.99. Did we not live on that in Ruston?
Boy.
Before it burned down?
Man.
I mean, it was every Monday. Was it Monday? It was Mondays because we go play basketball. Because I remember one time we go play basketball. I think it was $2.99. I couldn't afford that meatball. You know, I would just try to bring my smaller friends.
That
to
was
get
when
a
everybody
meatball.
got their parents' money, like the first week. It's like, I got my month money, but I'm getting that meatball.
$2.99, all you could eat.
Yeah.
You know, I love their tea when I could afford it too.
Oh, that tea?
Yeah,
that was so good.
But you know, you just had to meet a worker. Yeah, you just had to get to know somebody. Oh, I've seen you here every Monday. Yeah, hey, I still want water, but we'll put a little tea in there, you know. But you know, but then because I remember vividly one time playing basketball at Intramural. We played basketball all the time up there.
All the time.
Zone
pickup. They didn't know what to do with it.
They didn't know what to do with us white boys. We're like, these pickup games, you know, were like, you don't play defense. That's rule number one in these pickup games. And we were like, all right, we're going to play zone.
Yeah.
2-1-2.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in the middle. I'm fouling anybody in the lane.
Oh, yeah.
Lane's closed. I would announce it. Yeah. Lane's closed, guys. Here's the thing. We had to make the most of it because we knew we were going to lose.
Right.
And it was going to be a 30-minute wait to get back on the court.
Yeah. I don't know, though. We were pretty good because we were structured. Jared was going to shoot 80% of the time. I don't even want the ball. I'm not a basketball guy. I'm tall.
We would always...
Here, you can have it. I don't even care to shoot.
We took all the basketball fundamentals from high school. We're like, okay, we're going to pass 5 times before we shoot.
Joey's the only fast guy with us.
These guys are like, what are they doing? Like, we aren't playing defense. Why are they passing? Just shoot it.
Right. They didn't know what to do.
But I remember, you know, I jumped 2 inches off the ground.
That was your
max
high jump.
vertical. Yeah, my high jump, 2 inches, and I twisted a little bit in my back. Didn't think much of it. Went to Monjuni's with Laurie afterwards. You know, back then, you know, you're dating, you're a college student. You didn't go change. I was soaking wet in my basketball shoes. Sit down. We eat a lot of all-you-can-eat spaghetti, and we go to leave, and I couldn't stand up. I literally had hurt my back. I wasn't going to class that week anyways, but I had a reason not to go to class. Right. I skipped all my classes. I couldn't stand up for a week. Yeah, it was pretty bad. No insurance, obviously.
So you just
that's my story.
Waited out in the Monjunis, or
no? I just walked, hunched over, and Laurie had to drive my Chrysler Concorde back.
Let's be honest.
To the house.
You were like, "Well, I'm here. Might as well bring me another bowl.
Let's see if this heals back up."
Can I get that mint tea in a to-go cup?
Those mints.
That mint tea's good.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, the tea. So, anyways, Monjuni's back. David, you know, he bought. So that's from talking to him, you know, it's kind of split up. So there's like 3 different Monjuni's, different owners of different locations. He just bought the Uri location, but it gave him the rights, so he was able to put the Benton one. I think he put one in Texarkana.
Well, the one in Blanchard, right close to our store.
Blanchard, that's a dual.
It's a trifecta. So it's got the Silver Star, and then you flip the menu over, and then you've got Monjuni's on the other side, and then when you're finished, you walk into the
I know what you're saying.
Cupcakes.
The cupcakes, the buttercup cupcakes.
Those are the best.
Oh. It's just you just can't look down. You know? It's like,
Kim Hand, she started that. I think Brad's wife.
Yeah. Well, I remember him buying David, and he was like, "Yeah, I bought that a month ago." He's like, "I sold 3,000 cupcakes in a month." I'm like, "Wow, that's insane. That's a lot of cupcakes." But hey, if you want a cupcake business, Shreveport Bossier's place to start at. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
You got to have that dessert. Well, they put it right on the display, and they're also colorful. Yeah. So what are you going to tell a kid no?
Well,
the cupcake stand has become what our gumball machine was. Quarter for a gumball? No. $4 cupcake, buddy.
That's and cake pop. You're like, I'm not feeling the full cupcake, but I'll behave today. Just get a little cake pop.
Yeah, that's a diet. That's a diet cupcake.
Yeah, it's like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, reduced fat cupcake.
Yeah.
Gluten free. So yeah, so the Monjuni's there. We have had a couple takeouts. Pretty good stuff.
Solid.
Now, excellent. If I'm going to go pros and cons with Italian, I've mentioned some cons. Pros, it's just as good left over.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't need to be crispy. You know, you heat it back up. It's good stuff.
That's right.
And then you go, for some reason, this place, it's like they give you like one piece of toast. So, but you have to like order more toast for 99 cents, and they upgrade it to like a
800?
like a grocery bag. It's like a grocery bag. Yeah. It's like
the white bag. Yeah, it's the white bag, and it's got the
yeah. So man, it's some good stuff.
That's some classic Shreveport stuff right there.
Hey, classic. Yep,
100%.
So here's what I wanted to talk about. Both of you have taken over businesses or in the process of doing that, taking over a family business, right? My dad was a pastor, so my brother took over that business, not me. So let's talk about that. Because, I'm thinking, the lens I'm thinking through is like, I see my kids and like, they'll do something or say something smart, they're like at 10 years old. I'm like, man, that person could run my business one day. And the next day I'm like, there's no way that person is ever, like, they're not even allowed to come in there doing that kind of silliness. Don't touch anything. All right. Yeah. But then I'll say, oh, there's some leadership skills there. You see it early on. And it's like, but then, then I was having a talk with a lady who has had a very successful business and sold it, and she bought another business that's not making money. She's losing money, but she feels, she's like, well, I have this family member, I'm creating them a job. And I'm like, first of all, you don't owe your family member anything. Like, you don't owe your kids the business, right? And so it's this concept, which is mean, it sounds mean and harsh, but it's also the same thing you were talking about, right? Is that like this, your dad's expectation, he didn't want that expectation imposed on you. Like, hey, you're letting the family down if you don't come take this over.
Sure.
And so let's just talk about that. And it can even be the logistics of it, right? Did you grow up, Josh, wanting to be a part of the family business? Or were you like, that's what my dad does, I don't want to do that? And the reason I see, and let me elaborate a little bit more, because what happens when you're growing up in an entrepreneur home, you see the dark side of it. Right, you see all the bad stuff, and
so. or you get glimpses of it. Maybe you don't get exposed to the whole bag.
Yeah,
I'm sure you don't dump that on your kids.
Well, you see the stress.
That's stress.
You see the stress. You're like, hey, why does Dad just go to his room and sleep all day? He gets home. Like,
why is Dad crying in the shower? But to answer your question, Layden, I growing up, I never wanted anything to do with our family business. And it wasn't in the sense that I thought it was, negative. It wasn't my path.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I worked in the store, and everybody would come to me and say, Little Mitch, you're going to take this place over. I mean, every day I heard it 15 times, and I was just like, no, man, I'm not.
Yeah.
This was a business in the town of Mansfield. And at that time, the industry in Mansfield was kind of going away. I mean, the town was drying up to a degree, and I felt that, man, if I wanted to do something in the world and make a mark, that I was going to have to go somewhere else. Who knows where, but I was going to have to go somewhere else. So I went to college in Jackson, Mississippi. I tried to push out as far as I could there, and it wasn't too far, but it was a little bit further down the road. But anyway, so I never really grew up thinking this is what I was going to do. I think over time, you realize a few things in that your appreciation level shifts, and you start to understand things a little bit differently. And then to some degree, I've got to say, like, God's will just kind of catches you. You run, I'm thinking about Jonah maybe, but God's will kind of catches you, and you stop fighting this thing that you've been kind of fighting your whole life. And then the appreciation really starts to develop. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I always wanted to make a mark. I mean, the band was my 100% expression of the entrepreneurial spirit. It's like, this is my thing.
Sure, you created something out of nothing.
I'm building a team. Like, I got a plan. This is what we're going to do. Our odds are 1 in 5 million. But you know what? We're going to give it our go. And
what odds were better? You being a successful rock star, or you being a first baseman for...
Probably this guy.
Probably this guy. Okay.
I mean, but in a way that was the odds, and so I believed that we could do it, and so we pushed very hard, and I got pretty far, but ultimately, you just get to this point in life where even my wife, where she fought this thing, and I just realized that like my skill set. I've never been a real handy guy. I've never been the construction guy. I would probably get fired from a construction company, but I had a skill set that I thought I had maybe a different angle, And I certainly had the drive to try to do something significant. I remember I was in the first store, Mansfield, the store that I grew up in, and one of my high school classmates saw me in the aisle, and she said, because we were building this new store, and she said, are you afraid, man? Are you afraid this is going to fail? And I said, no, I'm afraid that
wasn't till now. Thanks a lot.
You think it is?
Yeah. Put down the hammer.
Well, but my real fear was if I stay the same, if I don't try to grow, if I don't try to move forward, we're gonna wither away. My soul is going to just.
Yeah.
I can't just stay static and stagnant forever. I've got to keep going forward. We got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And as funny as we talk about this, you kind of hear us say things that clue into traits, competitiveness, a desire to make an impact, to stand on your own, to write your own song, and to a degree psychopathic, like we're kind of psychos too, these are traits that I think that we were inherently gifted or born with. And when we're talking to these business owners and leaders, you hear a reoccurring theme. We're just kind of wired with this, I got to do this thing. And if I don't, my soul is going to suffer. And it's risky and it sucks because I'm up at 3 a.m. last night thinking about everything that I got to fix. But I'm here today listening to your story and being like, yes, brother. Yes, brother.
Well, it's funny. So I listened to a podcast years ago, actually about a year ago, and it stuck with me. And I think we should actually listen to the podcast and have a whole episode about it. But he goes through the generational mindset. And he's like, the first generation in a company are the risk takers. They're the builders. They're the ones out there. He says the second generation are the maintainers. They're just trying not to lose what the first generation built.
They still understand some of the struggle.
They still understand some of the struggle. They see the hard work that was put in, so they're just trying to lose it. And they say the third generation squander it.
Yeah.
Right? But in both of y'all's story, it seems, since both of you have been involved in the family business, y'all have both scaled it way bigger than the previous generations have. What I can just imagine, and I'm trying to be conscious of this while my child's growing up, but you always see your kid as a kid, right? We see it when we're like around our family, right? We'll hear like, a parent or something talk to us and it's like, I'm 43 years old. They just talk to me like I'm still a teenager, And my son's starting to see it, right? He's 15. He's like, why are they treating me like I'm 8 years old? I'm like, because they still see you as an 8-year-old. Yeah, exactly. So how was that? Was that has that had to be a conversation, or is that something you just deal with your parents? Be like, when does it happen? It's like, okay, this person actually is an adult now and I can trust them with this.
Yeah. I would say, I think because of my dad being so great about making sure that the relationship was first, and that he's, the older I get, the more I realize how sharp he really was. And, I thought I had the world like to just go attack. Well, now I probably had a little bit tighter window of, risk. Yeah. But he was just great about making sure that he let me make mistakes, and he would, let us try new things. Also, like, okay, if the kid goes out there and does well, it benefits all of us. Or, I know he knew I could only screw it up this much. But, piggybacking on what you were saying earlier, it's just something kicks in, and maybe it takes some of us longer. Because I got to say, Leighton, in school, I didn't know that you had an entrepreneurial mindset. You surprised me.
I didn't either.
And living with you, I would never. I didn't know you had it in you.
Here's what I know looking back. I know I didn't like rules.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit around. I would take initiative on things I cared about or I was passionate about. But I was also very lazy. I was lazy to things that the people around me told me I had to do, like go to class, make good grades, right? I mean, I was literally out of Southwood, 500 students senior year. I was number 250. I was right in the middle of that. Yeah. So, but that was me. Is I was like, I just, I didn't know that either. I remember my parents I remember my senior year, my mom just like was very concerned, like, hey, what are you going, like, you like computers? Hey, like she was trying to pick something for me,
Absolutely.
And she's like, what do you do? I'm like, well, my next step is just sign up for classes. I have no clue.
That's right.
Right.
But
So I don't know. I think that, and I didn't go into starting businesses out of college. I actually became a school teacher, and I just remember hating it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and Josh, you were talking about, that person seeing you in the, and this, but that failure wasn't an option. It's like, we're not going to fail. Like you may think in the back of your mind, and you may find yourself in a prior episode crying in the shower because you're like, holy moly, we're in a lot deeper spot than I thought we were. Yeah. But you're just, man, you're going out there to win. It's just like when you step on a field, if you're going up to bat to get a hit, you got a lot better chance than trying not to get out. And whether it be, and I know probably less technical stuff about our businesses than I should probably admit. I don't know much about personally cutting concrete, but I know how to put a guy out there that knows what he knows what he's doing. Yeah. We're going to find your solution.
You think I've ever been on a roof? Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, but winners win. People with a drive and with a determination are going to succeed. Yeah. Successful people will find success in wherever they're at. Yeah. It doesn't matter. That's why, Aaron, our business coach, and I, we talk about Joe Gibbs. I have such a respect for people that can be successful in one trade or one field and do a 180, and they're equally as successful in another. Yeah. Those are the people that I am most impressed by because, again, they have what it takes. They're going to find success. You're up against an opportunity. Yeah. You put yourself, you gain knowledge, you put people around you, you put a team out there, you know how to pivot when you come up against a roadblock, you hit problems and you get through them and you learn and you get better and you find success. Yeah. That's
and I think that what we do in our culture, it's actually human nature, but we let our current circumstance define if we're successful or not, or if we're happy or not, or right. And I tell people all the time, it's like, and it's so cliche to say, but success is 100% your mindset.
Absolutely.
Right? It's 100% your mindset. It's not that you're in a tight spot today, so you're a failure.
Sure.
Or that you even had a failed business, right? Like I might have to shut a division down in one of my business. That doesn't mean I'm a failure, right? That means, hey, let's eliminate that as an option.
Absolutely.
Let's
you
move
found
on
one
to the
more
next
way
one.
how not to
Exactly. So it's all about the mindset, how you view it,
Absolutely.
right? And so because if you're in business, if you want this, you have this entrepreneurial drive, there's no way to avoid problems.
Right.
It's going to happen. There's no way. And so it's just all about the mindset of how you approach that problem, is if you're going to get past it or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, sure.
Something is broken every day.
Yeah.
Every day. But I want to answer your question.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about. And so this will ping off the story that Clint told about his dad, which I think what I heard in the story was really how my model is for how I'm thinking about the next generation, Leighton, for you, for your kids. Basically, the way I'm seeing this is exactly what your dad said, which was, listen, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Mm-hmm. You need to find what works for you, where you can apply your skills, where you can be of service to people, where you can, give, not just take. Like, find that thing for you, whatever it is, and encourage that child all along the way in those paths. Now, if they get to the point where they say, Dad, I think I'd like to be, part of the company. I would, there's several companies that will, I don't know what the word is for it, but they will take the kid and they will send them off to a non-competing business like theirs where they can be an employee. And of course, they're probably never really treated like a true employee.
Sure.
But ultimately, one of the things that I think that kids really need is they need to know what it's like to work for somebody else. They need to know what it's like to be an employee. They need to know what it's like to understand that there's real political things that happen in a workplace. And sometimes, if you just come up through a workplace as daddy's boy, you're going to miss some of the way that politics plays out in the workplace, or the way that people react to each other, or what it's like to have a boss rip you a new one because you screwed something up. And that informs the way I'm going to teach and coach my employees. So I would make sure that if they did want to come on board, that they're going to work for a company like that. And then they also might come back with a ton of incredible ideas that we didn't have. So now, that's how I would approach bringing them in. But I love what your dad did in saying, look, if this is not your thing, you don't have to be here.
Right.
Don't put any pressure on it, because I think that's how an organic love and respect for the business grows, as opposed to, guess what? Since the day you were born, this is your destiny.
Sure.
Yeah. So on that, when you decided to stop at the band, come back here and start the Halton store, was that your idea? Was that your dad's idea? Like, how did that work out?
I don't think he would have done that without me coming back. I think because he had gotten, he's not old, but he was certainly the point where it's like, I'm kind of good. It's like, I get the boys come in here and I can just go home and and we'll be all good. I can go out to the farm and get on the tractor. But when I came in, I was like, hey, what's the next stop for us? We started talking to one of the most important things we did was right off the bat, I got on the phone with some people who had bigger companies, and I said, hey, can I come and see what you do?
Yeah.
And we had two very, very gracious companies. One was Parker Lumber. The other one was Elk Supply in Oklahoma. Parker's in Houston, Beaumont. And so both of them let us come and sit in with, these are big companies, with the CO and the VP, and basically took a whole day with us, walked us through their stores. They showed us how they did their multi thing. At this point, man, they're so far beyond us. Yeah. It's just like, this is crazy. Sitting with Scott Parker, who, he had 26 stores maybe at the time, and he started like with one with his dad. So he did that. Like, he built 25 stores on the back of his dad's one store. So just an animal in the business world, super aggressive. And anyway, so those two experiences really kind of opened my world up to, like, we can do it. I see it.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen, you get models, right? You get like, I've seen somebody do this.
Yeah.
I think I can do it.
Absolutely. And I admire you going to look at those companies. And that's another thing. It's amazing to me how many people don't seek wisdom or just go ask questions. It's astounding. Because what I've found is, because I did the same thing, so many other business people, leaders. I joined BEI in Shreveport, about 12 years ago. Business owners, so like-minded people. People will pour out whatever you ask because they're rooting for you. They're rooting for, because we're all kind of the same people here. If you want to be successful, I'll tell you every trick I have up my sleeve, man. Ask questions. If you're looking to start a business, if you're looking to get it, go find somebody that you're not a threat to, or you are a threat to, but out of the market. Ask questions, because people will tell you anything that you want to know, because naturally we want to see success.
Well, and the truth is, whatever industry it is, there really aren't any secrets, right? I'll tell everything that I did to whoever wants to know. Well, there's very, very, very few that are going to take the step to do it.
What I found was there's not a lot of big secrets.
Yeah,
it's do the right thing every day, be wise, ask for God's will, and just work your butt off.
Yeah,
let's go.
Treat people right. Yeah.
But the advantage in seeking out the bigger companies that are on the next level or 3 levels higher than you is there aren't secrets, but they might have solved a problem that you haven't come across yet.
Absolutely.
And so rather than take 5 years to figure out how to solve this problem, if you could just tell me, just give me the cheat sheet.
Well, we just hired a consulting group, and that's what I'm saying is like, hey, you're putting us in the lightning lane at Disney, right? We still got to wait in line. We're still going to have to do this, but we're going to get through it a lot faster than if we just waited through the whole line.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
Wise men seek wise counsel. Right?
Yeah. What so on have there been, I know that y'all actually had a consulting group. You have a couple of consulting groups you're part of, right? But one of them was specifically on a generational transfer, right?
Yes. Yeah, and some of those ideas that I was just talking about in that thing came from, and it's so interesting because in that group there's maybe 7 of us, and you see a spectrum of the way that, well, these are all men, but you see a spectrum of the way that dad, or in one case mom, interacts with the kid. And I've seen it in businesses here in town. you sound like you had an excellent father in the way that he approached and was open and was listening to you, you know, making you feel valued. There are these circumstances where the dad just won't let it go enough. And so that kid's development, maybe he's 26, 27, 28, he just totally caves in that development, and that kid never really learns how to grow and how to step into the leadership position he
So when
needs
they
to
do
be.
take the reins, they do squander it.
That's right.
The wheels fall off fast.
That's right. So
Probably
they're
terrified to make a mistake.
exactly right, because dad has never really let it go in the way that you've experienced and the way that I've experienced. So seeing, you know, multiple situations like this generationally, you come to appreciate there's people who do it really, really well, and then there's people who just don't do it, and that's why so many generational businesses fail, is because that handoff, if we're watching the Olympics right now, that handoff is so tricky and it's so difficult. And if the older generation doesn't quite land it in the hand just right, and if the coming generation doesn't quite grab it just the right way, it is so easy to drop the baton. But so I'm thankful, and it sounds like you are as well.
Absolutely.
For the experience you
They
had.
call that, they do have a phrase. I remember someone being in a class or something, and they call it like the founder's curve or something, where a business is on an upward trajectory and then it starts to decline, or takes off even more, right?
Yeah.
And so it's called the founder's curve, I think. Maybe I might be mistaken that, but I mean, that's a big deal.
I had one of my business professors, you know, when you get a little bit further along, closer to graduation, it's smaller classes and a lot more one-on-one. I'll never forget, you know, one of my professors like, you know, your kids are going to ruin y'all's business, right? I'm like, what do you mean? So it's right along those lines, because they would have been third generation, you know, but I don't believe it. My girls would do great. If they want it, I don't think they do. So God bless them. Chase your dreams, girls.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else we want to talk about? Clint, you're here.
Okay.
You
I do
asked
have
us.
something.
Okay. By the way, I had to give a shout out to real quick, the Clements, Tim and Haley. Did I tell you about that? How they? Oh, I think I said that on the last podcast, where they fast forward. They listen to it on like 1.7 speed.
Nice.
anytime there's like dead air, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna speed us up. I also had to say, Clint, when we were starting this podcast, I had reached out to probably 10 people and just said, hey, I'm starting a business podcast. Give me some questions that you might want. And he had said, should I start a business or acquire a business? And we did a whole episode on that and did not give him a shout out.
Yeah,
we didn't give him a shout out. So when he started listening, he's like, oh, wait, hey, that question looks familiar. Where's the shout out? The shout out.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the
sorry to interrupt. What you got?
4 months late.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember listening to the episode and picking up some wonderful info. I mean,
there you go.
Like even thinking like, if I didn't just know y'all, this would be a great podcast. But anyway, you know, I guess it's more of a statement to anybody out there looking to be an entrepreneur or business owner or whatever. There is a lot of local businesses that have owners that are looking to retire, that don't really have a great exit strategy, that are waiting for that multi-million-dollar offer to come through the door and it's not coming, that are just working for their paycheck. So again, in 3 different transactions, we found that we were able to acquire businesses just to maintain their level of wealth for a period of time, to get them to a point. So I think there's a wonderful local market out there because, again, starting and also having them on your team, having them on your side, helping you keep it going. And if you can buy it at X and grow it 3 times, meanwhile, you're only paying on X valuation.
I recently saw a large local company acquire a small local company, and the small local company was actually on my radar of somebody I should reach out to.
Sure.
And I see it on Facebook, you know, and I'm like, dang. You know, I think that's it. I think, just throwing it out there. Hey, if you ever looking, like, hey, let's talk.
Absolutely.
Because, you're right. And, you know, banks, that's not very appealing to a bank to finance taking over a company.
No.
Unless there are a lot of assets. Yeah, exactly. Unless there are a lot of assets. And that is a good way to scale for sure.
Absolutely.
So what's next?
What's next? We're going to try to get better, try to get bigger.
Yeah. Where are you at now? How big are your companies? You sold by Bell.
Correct. Yeah. So Whited's, we have about 20 employees. Edge, we have pushing 20.
Okay.
So,
are y'all sharing? That was another question I had earlier. Are y'all sharing resources?
We are. Yeah.
Okay.
When we sold Bayou Bell, Edge was at a satellite location. So I said, look, it's a great satellite location. In fact, we own that satellite location, but we want to be together. And so we get together as a big group every week, every Monday morning at 6:15, and we pray. And we have some family time because, again, we want that same culture. It's these guys are going to do completely different services, but we find value on that, the family. Just also, I want to put my eyeballs on you before you get rolling. Not that I don't trust, but I just we need to see each other. We're family.
Yeah.
So they're same location. So definitely like to keep growing. I mean, we have some real estate investments, and I love those, especially if they'll pay for themselves.
Yeah. So as far as person scheduling jobs, person doing the books, or the CFO, you had the same one for both companies. They're kind of
we have some similar. Yeah, we have what we call LawMac management. That's all the common employees, Lawrence and McCullough. So if you're answering the phone, you're answering for both companies.
Gotcha.
It used to be 3, but AR, AP, those type of things. A lot of shared resources. But yeah,
cool. Yep.
I think it's really a smart idea to have those, like you said, more or less adjacent companies that you can share some of those resources and infrastructure with. And then, as you get to looking, it's like, hey, what's another adjacent thing that may just glue onto this?
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah. So, I mean, you're either going to bring on an exact same competitor,
right,
or like an ancillary business. Like, what service can we now provide off of our same database or relationships we have?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and this is off topic, but most of our success, I can say all of our success are based on our people, and we hire quality people first. We can teach you what we do. It's it is a skilled trade to cut concrete, to haul trash, to run a vacuum truck, but I want a quality person first. And so we've got some wonderful people that were vendors that no longer worked at certain places that were like, hey, we can't pay you near what you were making over there, but we got a place for you here. And I don't know what you're going to be doing yet, but we start with the quality of the individual, because if they're going to be just wonderful people in their daily lives, they're going to be a good reflection of us and our values.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that is huge. Yeah. I'm learning that lesson now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Clint,
do we want to shout out any other business? We got Monjuni's earlier.
Well, I was thinking about this today because and I'm rolling through Grand Cane, and there's a coffee shop there, and I stop by and I get a coffee, and it's great because they're so close to my house. They're way off the beaten path. I don't know how the economics work. I mean, there's only 200 people in this village that I live in, but I started to think to myself, how many local businesses are there out there? There's so many, but there's so many that are in your life and that are convenient for you, and we got to support them.
Yeah.
That was my thought. It's like, I like this. I like that they're here. What are they? Starbucks? No. Do I care? No.
Yeah.
Because they've got their own flavor and their own thing that they're doing. But at the end of the day, if I could say anything to everybody out there, if there is a local business that's in your neighborhood or is close to you or convenient to you, and you just acknowledge that this is a good thing, support them.
Absolutely.
Shop there.
Yeah.
Buy the coffee.
Yeah.
Because if you do not, they will quickly go away.
Right.
And we all have to remember that, because we're all like, oh yeah, support small business. And you see Amex, and I just think it's hilarious how Amex is the sponsor of Small Business Saturday, right? Yeah. Have you seen this? Well, they're the ones that charge the small businesses like 4 points to use their card. So they're just, hitting small business harder than anybody. But at the end of the day, that small business support, it can't just be lip service.
Yeah.
Because if it all goes to the guy in New York who bought all the companies, in the beginning, it's going to be great because you're going to say, oh, wow, look at this low price that I'm getting. And then all of a sudden, the big corporate mindset is going to hollow that company out as it's flipped from equity firm to equity firm. Yeah. And the employees are totally devalued. And then the quality of service is going to go way down. And then the price is going to go way up.
Yeah. Well, and the money leaves the market too.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
And who's real aggressive on coming in here and buying up local businesses or people from out of town? Right?
Exactly.
Cash flow. They want the cash flow.
Yeah. And a lot of times I don't get on and like just bang this drum and be a blowhard about this because it's obviously self-serving.
Yeah.
But there's a reality to this. If we want a diversity of businesses in our market that treats people like people, that contributes to community in a real way, you know, that the money is not leaving the market, we need to support our local small businesses. So there, I'm done.
Now, I will say this. I thought about this the other day. I've thought about it about a dozen times, and I keep saying when I remember on the podcast, I'm going to bring it up. Okay? Just a little business advice for your store.
Please.
Because when I walked in, I made a joke about where's the toy section, right? And they're like, well, there's a plastic swimming pool.
Yeah.
But, dude, y'all have got to get a toy rack.
A toy rack, okay.
Anytime I bring my kids to a store, Brookshire's, they want a truck. They want a $5 toy to leave with. They think it's owed to them.
Okay.
They think it's owed to them.
Impulse toys.
I was in a a auto goods store, not local, so I won't mention them. But I noticed right at the register they had, toy cars.
And it's such a trick
dude,
you know.
Just to avoid a meltdown, they will spend that $5.
That's right.
Because if
that's
you
why
say
they do it.
no,
they do it.
You're getting a car battery
flips out.
and a kid flips out. You can't deal with
That's
that.
right.
It's worth $5 to avoid that.
That's right.
Right?
That's
when
right.
you're trying to carry a car
It's
battery.
such a retail trick, but it's true.
I'm just telling you, dude.
It's like shut the kid up.
Dude.
Buy
Get
the
you a
toy.
little, just see what happens.
Yeah, okay.
Get you some toys up there by the register. See what happens.
Got it.
Not only that, but the kids are actually want to come to your store then.
Well,
you might not want them in there.
Is it really for the kids? You sound kind of excited about it.
Yeah, and candy.
Okay, got it.
Candy.
We got the candy. We
got the candy. Got the candy.
Clint, well, so listen, it's been a great series of episodes.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from you.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say this about you because when I met you at dinner, I felt this way. I felt that, some people's skills just kind of pop off the page. I felt like when I met him, I felt like he was somebody who most folks feel like they know quickly. Mm-hmm. Like when they meet you, they feel like, okay, I know this guy, and I think that skill in business is very valuable because as you work through relationships and you're meeting new people and you were talking about going out and finding a new business, I think it was really a key skill for you because again, that just relatability, that just personal touch. And so I just wanted to compliment you on that because in the beginning, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, I feel like I know this guy. I feel like I went to college with this guy, and I had just met you for just a brief moment. So I wanted to give you that shout out.
That's very kind, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Certainly try to be, I don't know, reflection of Jesus is what we're supposed to be, right? I feel at that a lot, but man, I love what y'all are doing here. Leighton, so proud of you, man, especially where I expected you to be.
Don't elaborate on that.
No, I'm teasing, but Josh, what y'all are doing down there at Ivy's is just so impressive, and man, I just love y'all, and I really, really appreciate y'all having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you might. I think we'll invite you back.
Yes,
okay,
that's right. That's right.
We'll wait till something big happens. We need to get your input on.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Thanks.
Let's do it.